everyone, welcome back. My name is Manya and I recently moved from Fort Worth, Texas to Nagoya, Japan. When I say recently, I mean recently. Today is July 6th, 2023 for me, and we arrived on May 16th. So it's been about a month and a half, almost 2 months that we've been here. And I thought that this might be a good time to give my initial impressions of Japan. I'm sure they will change, some of them, especially as I learn more Japanese and I get to know the systems a little bit better. But I'm gonna give you 6 things that I absolutely love about Japan, 4 things that I don't love, and then 1 thing that everyone seems to love that I'm kind of indifferent about. So, if that interests you, let's get into it right now. My number 1 thing that I love about Japan so far is how quiet it is. I am living in a city of millions of people. This is not a small city. You probably haven't heard of it. I hadn't either. It's not Tokyo or Kyoto or Osaka that are full of tourists, but there's something just quiet about the Japanese people. I remember distinctly Danny and I went to a shopping mall that was made out of the old international airport. And we were sitting in the food court and it was full of people. And Danny said to me, "Did you notice how quiet it is?" And I hadn't. But what I had noticed is that mall shopping, which are still really big here, shopping in areas where there are lots of people, being in areas where there are lots of people, like the subway, everyone is just very quiet and respectful of everyone else. I'm pretty sensitive to noises, and so I avoid in the US going to a lot of places because I know they're just gonna be too loud for me. It's not unusual for me to go into a restaurant in the US and ask them to turn the music down. When I lived in Washington, D.C., and the architecture style for restaurants was open industrial, where the concrete floors and the exposed piping and hundreds of people, I remember at the end of the night feeling so exhausted from having to yell in order to communicate with people. Now, I am very, very, very much enjoying how quiet it is in Japan. I'm also, unsurprising, if you know me, I love the subway system here. We have not been on the Shinkansen yet. That's the bullet train. We go on that next weekend for our first trip out of town to Hiroshima. But just the city system, the network of subways is incredible. I knew this was going to be the case. Now that I'm experiencing it, it is wonderful. It took me a little while to understand the difference between the city-run subway system and then the privately run subway system that connects. You have to walk to different terminals. It's confusing. One card will manage all of them in Nagoya, where I live. I believe that I need to get a different card, like when we go to Hiroshima or we go to Tokyo, we need to get different subway cards, but it's a joy. This next one is both a like and a dislike, and it is food. I am finding the food to be surprising in a way that I didn't expect. Now, I want to take sushi as one category. Sushi is insanely good in Japan, as you would expect it to be. The fish is so fresh, it's so affordable. But the thing about sushi is that the Japanese people don't eat it as often as you would think. There are not as many sushi restaurants. I thought it would be everywhere and that everyone would be eating it 4 or 5 times a week. That is not the case. I've had to search for sushi restaurants. And when we found them, they've been great for the most part. But when Japanese people eat out in restaurants, it's not nearly as healthy as I expected. And I find the food to be fairly bland. Danny even more than me. Now, Danny and I have very different palates. He loves spicy foods. He can't get enough. I can't eat the way that Danny eats. He puts cayenne pepper on everything. He eats raw jalapenos. Like, he likes a high level of spice, like a good Texas boy. That's not me. I have a much more subtle palate. He finds Japanese food to be very bland for the most part. He keeps saying this doesn't have any salt in it. Now, it tastes like it has salt in it to me, but to him it does not. But in restaurants, what I'm noticing is they eat far more fried food than I expected. Yes, some of it is tempura. Some of it does not appear to be tempura and it's just fried. They eat a lot more meat than I expected. Pork and chicken and beef. And the most surprising thing to me of all is how few vegetables they seem to eat out in restaurants. I really thought I would be eating fresh, raw fish and vegetables most of the time that I lived here. That's just not the case. In order to eat like that, we're eating at home 6 nights a week because I don't want to eat like they do in restaurants. I understand the concept of restaurants needing to be special occasions, and you do eat at home for the most part. And that's how I've lived my life for a long time. I think I've just been surprised that there are not more healthy choices in restaurants. I am obsessed with Japanese beauty products. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. I mean, we've been talking about Korean beauty products for a very long time in the United States, but I don't think I realized how superior Japanese beauty products were going to be compared to American beauty products. I way overpacked American beauty products. I'm a little sad. I have so many that I have to get through before I can just bathe in everything Japanese. They're light, they feel really good on the skin, and they're not overly fragrant. That's another thing in the United States. I am very sensitive to all the artificial fragrances in US products. Everything here is just so elegant, and I'm really enjoying exploring Japanese beauty products. And lastly, on the things that I am loving about Japan, it won't surprise anyone to hear the Japanese people. I don't speak Japanese. I know about 3 or 4 words in Japanese, so it's not like I'm having substantive conversations with Japanese people. I have made a few friends. There's an international women's group here. There are Japanese members who speak English. I've met a couple of other Japanese women that I'm spending time with, and they're wonderful. But I'm specifically referring to how helpful the Japanese people are. This is not new. You can watch any YouTube video on living in Japan and you'll be told this. But just as I stumble along, people are being so kind. They're trying to speak English to me, which I feel bad about because I'm in their country. I'm relying on Google Translate and they are nothing but patient. I show them pictures and they show me where to find it. I'm sure that we are insulting them left and right, not doing things correctly, but for the most part, people have been very kind. Okay, so moving on to the things that I so far do not like about Japan. I mentioned the food in restaurants. I'm struggling with it a little bit. I think it's gonna be good for my weight because we just are not eating out as much as I thought we would. Let's talk paper products. This is probably environmentally sound, but the paper products, I'm talking toilet paper, paper towels, napkins, baby wipes, those kind of paper products, they are so thin as to be unusable. It is crazy making. The toilet paper, and we cannot use American toilet paper here because of their septic systems and their pipes will not accept it. So everything is one ply, everything. So we have paper towels that we got at the Air Force Base up in Tokyo that we are using because those just go in the trash. But even an envelope that we bought to mail something back to the States, Danny was nervous about because it was so thin. And again, I'm sure environmentally that's great because you use less in theory, but man, my finger just pokes through the toilet paper. It's completely a waste of time. And before you say, well, the toilets are amazing, let me move on to the toilets in Japan. This is the thing I'm indifferent about. In theory, the toilets are amazing, and I cannot deny a heated seat is incredible. I don't know how I went so long without a heated toilet seat. But the water, the bidet, I'm almost never using it, and I'll tell you why. Because there's no way to dry yourself afterwards. And the one-ply toilet paper, I'm gonna get a little graphic here, it just, if you're all wet, it just kind of dissolves and then sticks to you. And so I'm not really sure. I need to ask one of my Japanese friends. I don't really understand how they use this bidet thing because I tried a couple times just using it, which I love. It's great to use. It cleans you up. You don't have to use the toilet paper. That's great. But then you're wet. So I tried a couple times just to like drip dry, but then my underwear was wet for the rest of the day. Like somehow I am missing something about these incredible Japanese toilets. And before you say there's a dryer, I have a dryer in my toilet that's right over here. It does not dry in a reasonable amount of time. I would have to sit there for 20 minutes for it to dry me. So if any of you have used a Japanese toilet and you have the answer to my question where I'm not just carrying around a towel all day to dry myself, that would be fine because I'm already carrying a towel around because public bathrooms don't have hand dryers or a hand towel. So every Japanese woman carries around a small towel. They sell them everywhere, but you wouldn't want to use that to dry yourself and then also to dry your hands. Anyway, the toilets, I feel like there's all these fancy features and it's just not as usable as I wanted it to be. Let's talk garbage. Garbage sorting at your house is insane here. Now let's put to the side that they don't have public trash cans on the sidewalks. They don't. So when you come to Japan, expect to carry all of your garbage all the way until you get back to your hotel room or your house or wherever you're staying. That alone is a pain. So yes, they have vending machines everywhere, and those are great to get a bottle of water or a bottle of tea, but just know you're going to be carrying that bottle for the rest of the day. And I'd sort of heard about the garbage sorting situation, but it wasn't until I was here that I realized how unbelievably difficult it is. I'm using my iPad because I took notes on all the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I have on my iPad the trash and recycling guide for the city I live in. Look how many pages it is. I have garbage pickup 1, 2, 3 days a week. They pick up from my house, but it's a different thing every day. So don't get excited that like I can put my garbage out 3 days a week. No, no, no. They pick up a different thing every day. And then weekly, I have a collection point in my neighborhood that I can take a bunch of stuff to. So 4 days a week, I am dealing with garbage. I have 4 different bins in my closet over here for sorting of garbage, and one of my friends here says she has 8. So if you really want to have a different can for every single category, you need to have 8 bins in your house. Some of them get picked up at your house, some you have to take to a neighborhood collection point, some you can take to this monthly collection site, and it is confusing. And then lastly for me, the thing that I dislike about Japan so far is the fluctuating rules. And I am sure that this is the case in the US for someone who comes to the US for the first time. And I just understand when the rules apply and when the rules don't apply. Specifically, the rule that I am not understanding at all are the rules on the sidewalks and the stairs. Stairs mostly up and down to the subway. But not always. I mean, it could be in a department store or something like that. So logic would tell you that stairs and sidewalks mimic streets. So we drive on the opposite side of the road here in Japan. So to me, you walk down the left-hand side when you're going that direction and back the right-hand. Well, you get my point, right? And sometimes that is the case. That seems to be what people follow sometimes, but not all the time. And then sometimes going in a subway stop, I don't know if the subway stops are run by the local neighborhood or what, but sometimes they'll direct you to go down the right-hand side and the left-hand side. But then there's often people just who don't seem to follow it at all. And then the rule, very specifically, the law is that bicycles are supposed to be in the road. Not a single bicycle is in the road ever. Every single bicycle is on the sidewalk. And so you add people being inconsistent on the sidewalk, bicycles being on the sidewalk, and to top it all off, no eye contact. This is by far the hardest part of this rule situation, the walking rules, that throws me off, because I'm happy to move out of someone's way, but it's very difficult to know what they are going to do, if they're going to move over to the other side or if they expect me to move over the side if we don't make eye contact. And that's the rules here are that people in public do not make eye contact with each other. That goes for in the grocery store, trying to go down the aisles. It's very difficult to know how to get around someone because they'll just move without any kind of forewarning. There's not the nonverbal communication here is not what I'm used to. And so to me, it seems like people just merge without looking, walk without looking, move without looking. And so I feel like I'm bobbing and weaving a lot, trying to understand how to be respectful, because I really want to be respectful here and to do it right and to not I'm already clearly don't belong here. So I want to do it right, but I just can't for the life of me figure out what right is when it comes to public walking and existing in these spaces. So that's it. Those are my first impressions about 2 months into living in Japan, the things I'm liking, the things that I'm not liking or are baffling to me, and then this toilet thing. So thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.